Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been about 7 months, I believe, since I've been streaming. And I think there's a lot of lessons that Rapid Designs has learned in between now and then. For those who do not know what Rapid Designs is, my name is Sam Stevenson, and I run this business, so called Rapid Designs. And we are simply put the fastest drafting firm in the United States. That is the goal. That's what we strive to be. And there's a little niche market that we fit into that we're going to be talking about today on how we solve those problems for those kinds of people. So if you're the kind of person who wants to learn and potentially you've got a business or something you're considering doing on your own, there's probably some lessons in here that could very well apply to you and your lifestyle because I am only about 2 years into running this thing as it is. And I have failed multiple business attempts before this and learn something every time. So this is the most successful we've ever been. And so therefore, there are problems and things we're learning along the way that have not been encountered before. So if you are someone who's young in the journey of business and you also might want some things to know, listen up because we're going to get right into it here in no particular order. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is I believe last streamed in April or May. And at that time, 95% of the work was just me. I have a friend who has taken the time to learn lots from me and lots of skill on his own time. And he was able to help me draft a few things here and there. And one of the main takeaways from this year was hiring and employment. So I read a book. One of the things y'all ought to know about me, and maybe this is something you could think about yourself, uh, in terms of knowing your own potential flaws, is my family calls me Speedboat Sam because I like to move too fast often. And if I see something that I'm interested in, or I see a problem to solve, or I see something like that, then I run with it. And oftentimes that could be I watch a YouTube video and I get excited and I want to go a direction, or it could mean I read a book and I'm like, oh, here's a strategy I can employ. Let's do that exact thing right now. One of the problems that happens because we have this information age where there's so much information out there for everybody to take in is that oftentimes like there's too much information and you only actually need to know this little piece of information to do the next correct actionable thing in like the order of actions as they should be done. um for example, if I wanted to learn how to ride a bicycle, then I shouldn't go to YouTube and start learning how to jump a bicycle, or I shouldn't start like learning how to wheelie. Like there's a progression to everything, and oftentimes people get sucked into the progression because like things get exciting, honestly, and there's so much cool stuff to be employing, and the same is true in any business. If you are in a business or you're an employee and there's a skill set you're going after, or there's a problem you're trying to solve, it's entirely possible that you can accidentally Im- implement something before it matters. And it's not that it won't work or it'll cause you a problem, but it might just not be the most effective thing to be doing at that time. So, in terms of what we learned here at Rapid Designs was employment. I read a book by Dan Martell called "Buy Back Your Time," and I was like, "Oh, I was starting to get pretty busy with work," and I was like, "Well, I need to buy back my time." Obviously, because I read the book. So what I failed to realize was there are some other basic things that I should have had in place that we're going to talk about. I got in my notes here, but I hired people before it was time to hire people. From a business safety perspective, there's only like you should have, generally speaking, a certain amount of cash on hand as a business before you want to jump in and start bringing on additional liabilities to a business. So that was numero uno, not mistake, but lesson that needed to be learned. And so I hired three different people at different times in 2025, um, all of which were like beneficial. I learned something, they learned something, they got paid. I'm back to being by myself again, and that's because like there's a whole lot more capacity that I have with just me that I need to execute on before I bring other people in, and that's partially to fix the like big cash reserve problem. One of the things Alex Hormozy talks about that I will obviously I will frequently quote Alex Hormozy because he's a mentor that I have learned a lot about business from, is he recommends do whatever you have to do to get that first 100K in the bank. Whether you have to, sell pictures of your toes, or you have to go get 5 jobs sweeping the streets, or whatever it may be. Do whatever it takes to get that first 100K in the bank. Be disciplined with your money. And once you have that, if you've kept your lifestyle relatively simple, that money buys you time. And that time allows you to make mistakes with your money and learn things. And so one of the things that Rapid Design started doing was income of the business started to go up. And it's like, oh, well, now we have more capacity to get more stuff done. Let's hire people and get more problems solved and grow faster. So that is the case of what we did. And the drawback is that if you keep backfilling the liability and the costs in the business while the income is going up, then you never actually reach a point where the income is able to be stacked up and saved into that 100K ideal number to have. So uh, basically, what needs to happen is oftentimes the lesson here is that you need to endure the work and the suffering and the grind for a lot longer than you think you do to get to the point where you need to be. And that's probably true for anything, whether it's a hobby or it's a business. If you want to be great, then very likely you need to learn the skill of continuing to do the thing while it sucks. And that's going to give you the best edge because most people, once things start to suck or they get boring, they stop doing it. So that's where you can get your edge, guys. But that was a thing. So in in the in the mix of the people I was hiring, I learned another thing about this business, which for those who don't know, the main point of this business, the problem that this business solves is that we've taken a particular software called Chief Architect, and I have learned how to use it because I am the draftsman. I have learned how to use it and systematize it in a very, very, very specific way, strictly to basically help people who already know 80% of what they need get their product and continue in like hours. Like it just takes almost no time to produce an entire construction plan set as long as somebody knows what needs to be done. Now, there's a huge market of people who are like, I want to build a house. And they might know nothing about what to design, and they might know 80% or they might know 100%. And so part of my job is to learn those types of positions and be able to filter out who is who. And then anyone who needs more guidance, like there's a separate service where other designers are better at that service. Like if you can come to them with ideas, they'll be able to formulate all these cool things they can do and give you something that's going to fill that 80% gap and then crash through that, architectural set of plans that you need to actually bid or build a project. So what we do is the last 20% of the work, which is I have all these ideas of all these sketches. I have all these images of things I like. I need somebody to put this together in a construction set that is going to work. I can bid with it with builders. I can go build it myself. I can do my thing. That is the problem that we solve. And with that comes the fact that there's like, I wouldn't even say the word humility is required, but there has to be an understanding of the technician who's doing the work that the work is not inherently prestigious. I tell people all the time when I'm on a Zoom call and I'm drawing a house and I'm doing this, that, and the other, I am not an architect. I don't have vision in the same way that an artist has a vision for what this house could look like. I have a conglomeration of tons and tons of house designs and examples that I've seen because I've been doing this for a while. And so I'm able to piece together lots of things that functionally work, that make sense. I can follow rules, but I'm here to filter your ideas or the builder's ideas through my set of rules that make something work in combination with structural engineering to create a plan set that is effective, clean, fast. It's not going to cause any problems. Um, Therefore, the people that need to work here are people that pretty much can't be pursuing anything above that. It needs to be someone who's okay sitting at a computer, moving lines where someone told them to move the lines. And there is a level of expertise that comes with like, well, okay, I don't recommend you move that wall there because of this. I recommend this is a spacing away from this. Like that obviously those are things that are part of it. But I need the only people that can work at Rapid Designs are people who can sit and grind at a computer and take direction and like not be interested in the clout, essentially. Like um, more specifically, one of the people that was hired to draft, who did an amazing job, by the way, a very, very skilled and experienced draftsman, came on the team, started drafting with our systems, and did an awesome job. Like was able to pick things up super fast. And there's a trade-off, right? I didn't have to train them how to do a lot of things, but with that came their understanding of drafting and art, and it solved a problem for a period of time, and it worked out because they ended up getting an opportunity to go somewhere else where they wanted to be. So it worked out for everybody. But the lesson in there is for you guys, if you are going to bring someone onto your team, regardless of if you're running a business or if you're running a chess club, make sure they are completely in line with the goals you have and the very specific problem you're solving. Because if they're not, there's just a higher statistical probability that they will not last, and the return on investment of training them may or may not work out. So that was going on there. On another note, we spent a lot of time cold calling and exploring the Northwest region of the United States. And there's a lot of cool builders out in the Northwest region of the United States. And along with the cool builders are lots of basements and crawl space foundations. For those who do not know what that means on a set of plans, is the foundation layout will be drawn slightly differently, and there will be a few other details and things you will need to specify so that the plan set can be complete. For builders who are listening to this that want to know what that means to the draftsman, is it means more work. It means more attention to detail. It means a more complicated system. And Rapid Designs, being very focused on solving one specific problem super well, already has a great system for houses that all have slab on grade foundations. There's a lot of automation and stuff that can be built into the software such that very minimal work actually needs to be done on the plan in order to create a completed plan. The whole idea is we want to make the tools do all the work as fast as possible and get something that produces stuff at speed. That is the whole point, Rapid Designs, right? So what that basically meant was we called the entire Northwest side of the country, got some great connections, got some good networking done. And then once a few jobs started rolling in, I was like, oh, this is more complicated. I'll either have to charge more money to make up for the additional work or decide to niche down away from this particular type of work. And that is exactly what we decided. Takeaway there for you guys would be, if you are trying to run a business and figure out what you're doing, you could constantly decide to niche down. I would even say that if you're an employee or you're just a regular person, you're not running a business at all, if you are trying to decide what direction you want to go in life, the more specialized your skill set gets, the more money you will make because you are solving a more and more specific problem. And the more complex that problem is and unique that problem is, the more money it'll be worth. And the more you focus on solving only that problem, the more money you're going to make per time because you'll be able to do it faster than everybody else. So that said, we are going to focus on foundations. And then along with that, there were some remodel jobs that kind of popped up here and there. And while that is a skill set that I, particularly as a draftsman, can handle exceptionally well because of my structural engineering background, being able to look at an existing building, know what's going on, it's extremely complicated and risky work because you just never know what's going to happen in a remodel. There's a physical site visit required, and I happen to be wanting to build a business that is just logistically simpler. And so, no site visits is a good thing. Not having to physically go anywhere means that I am able to source in the future labor anywhere. People can work remotely, like it's just less of a problem. So, the more specific I get, the more money theoretically everybody can make who works here. So, and it's not like any particular one of these things wouldn't work. So if you're somebody who wants to learn how to make lots of money and you want to learn from the tools that I have that are free, by the way, on my website, rapidarchitectural.com, there's probably a link in the description. There are so many pockets for this skill set in the home building industry. Like I promise you that like 70% of the industry of draftsmen is people who don't know what they're doing. They're doing a terrible job and they don't want to work. They're just lazy. Oftentimes they'll get builders. I'll meet a new builder and I'll be like, oh, he's like, what's your turnaround? It's like, well, normally just like a few days or something like that. Kind of depends on the job. Sometimes it's same day, but um, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, like if I call somebody, they'll tell me that like they won't even consider starting my job till like 6 months down the road, and then even then it's a consideration." It's like, yeah, there's apparently not a hunger for people to be out there putting lines on paper. So, is it romantic? No, but it's a skill set. It's kind of gaming, honestly. For those of you that haven't seen, this is the mouse that I run on my computer. It's a gaming mouse. It's a Logitech G600 and it's outdated and I actually will probably be upgrading it to something else at some point so that I have technology that works consistently. But the whole point is there's a skill set and like there's a physicality to this. It's almost like a game. It's like a video game in a computer. Now it's for houses and lines, but like the problem you're solving is for people who have money and want to give it to you. So kind of a cool skill set to learn in my opinion. So that said, no more remodels, new construction, what we're aiming for. Let's see what else we got in here. So, yeah, so what happened was we got through the whole Northwest United States, and then I realized, oh, this is not work that we want. So, scrapped all of the leads that we just spent the previous like month getting. So that was not money down the drain. Anytime you quote lose money, it's actually you're paying for an education in some way. And so I basically paid for the education in knowing that I don't want to acquire work in those zones. So instead, I was like, well, where are the slabs? It's the southern half of the United States for the most part. So we limited our region to there and then scanned that whole area instead. And I think we have a good thing going. There's going to be a few basements depending on where we end up, but we can work with that here and there. Just in general, it's a warmer climate in the South. So more slab on grade stuff. So that's where we're at. On the subject of acquisition of customers, there are only so many builders. The way we were getting our data was we would go to a builders association website, we'd find the directory, and then we'd scan through it. We would go to every builder's website if they had one or Facebook page, and we would look at them and we would basically judge the personality of that kind of builder based on their website. And there's a whole bunch of criteria that we have listed out now because when we've been doing it for so long, we basically know, depending on what combination of website or no website or Facebook page you have, we know what the person is going to be like when they pick up the phone. So that's kind of cool. But there's only so many of those builders. And if you do this consistently for a long period of time, then eventually you're going to run out. And so what happens is we kind of saturated the areas that we were working in. And now the game is the next highest leverage move, as I understand from Hormozy, in terms of acquisition, the 4 ways to acquire a customer would be we're trying to convert cold people into warm leads, right? Create engaged leads. And so there are now there's a list we have of people that were somewhat engaged with what we were offering at the time. And every time we've called somebody, we don't try to sell them something on the phone. What we try to do is we try to give them something valuable on the phone for free so that they're like, oh, there's just this cool person, right? It helps the phone call stay engaged. And so what happens is if they stay engaged with us, we have an opportunity in the future at the next time to get them on the phone again. And I have this big old list that I go through and I'm like, oh, here's all the people I'm going to call. So every time I come up with something new, like the other day I trained an AI GPT to be the front end for a builder who gets contacted by a new customer. And instead of the builder talking to the customer, the builder sends them a link and says, hey, have this conversation with the customer instead. And the AI will give a PDF report, which the customer then gives to the builder. Anyway, the point is, I try to save the builder time by creating a tool that's valuable. It took me 5 minutes to train the GPT, not complicated, and I can send out this link. And so I have a free, valuable thing that might be valuable to builders depending on who they are. So what I can do with the valuable thing is I can call all of these builders again and say, hey, this is Sam at Rapid Designs again. I got this other thing I've been working on. I want to know if this would be useful to you. And it allows us to keep making contact points with these customers and keep offering them something valuable so that they keep remembering who we are. And eventually what happens is they're like, who are you again? What do you do? It's like, oh yeah, we just draft houses and we're the fastest in the US kind of thing. And they're like, oh, well, what is fast? And like, boom, engaged in a sales setting conversation to figure out if we can be helpful to each other. So that is the game. And so we have a list of people now. And that list of people, we're just going to keep coming up with cool new ideas of value, which for the most part, like I can only come up with so many different tools. But one of the things that is pretty much valuable to everybody at any point is content, social media, podcasts, especially the kinds of people that my business targets. Most of the time, as we describe them, they are builders and they are just dudes who like to build houses. They're probably 30 to 40 years old, maybe up to 50s. Any older than that, and they tend to not be down for like new technology. Any younger than that, and they're probably don't know enough, like they don't have enough business or enough reputation established to like really get started. Um, and they're just guys who know stuff about construction and they build houses. And then they maybe do like one a year or maybe five a year. They're not doing 100 houses a year kind of a thing. Those are our ideal customers. And the other cool part about those customers is those people specifically need a really good team. For those who understand how a builder can potentially like level up, you know how fruit, how does it work? Charmander goes to no I'm gonna mess this up. Charmeleon goes to Charmander, which goes to Charizard or something like that. I forget them, right? But builders have like levels to them, and so when a builder starts out, it's just them. They do all this work, they do all this design, they try to help a customer figure out plans. And oftentimes, maybe they buy software, they buy Chief Architect. It's very accessible. And they try to get into doing this building thing. When they get busy enough, one of the things they've learned pretty quickly is that there's a lot to know about using Chief Architect to draft plans. It's quite complicated. And like, um, what happens is they would benefit from someone like me who says, hey, listen, I want to be your in-house draftsman, but you don't have to hire me full time. So what am I doing? I'm removing all of the risk and I'm giving them the same or better product with them still feeling like they have full control over the process because everything's on Zoom, everything's live, right? So they're going to be still controlling everything, but they don't have to know Chief Architect, and they're going to be using someone who's been using Chief Architect for years, and they're just going to blast through it. And so between their brain power and design and our ability to blast through the software, we're going to create a product super fast and everyone's happy. So um, that is the target person. And so those people both need a draftsman who they can rely on for a long period of time. And eventually the next stage is a builder potentially gets so busy they want to hire the draftsman in-house so they can fully control it. So we're not at the point where we have to really deal with that yet. We've only been doing this for about 2 years specifically in this niche. So not a big deal yet, but maybe somebody will keep us, maybe they'll hire somebody else inside, don't know. But that would be a great thing because if we help them through that stage, that would be awesome. The other flip side of this is that those builders also need help with social media because they're probably not super up to date with all of the stuff they need to be doing to like maintain brand, maintain presence on the internet, be a warm body online. And so somebody like myself who has studied a lot in that particular zone, like I do not claim to be an Instagram or social media or marketing expert at all, but I have paid for some courses in certain specific fields on how this kind of thing works, and I understand how to leverage it. And so I can come to them and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in the area. Let's do a podcast. I'll just come by and we'll just film it and be good to go." And they're like, "Oh, well, what do I owe you?" And it's like, "Well, nothing, because this is podcast. Like, this is how this works. We just make a podcast and we're both happy. If you get customers, they're probably going to need a design. And where are you going to go to get the design? Hopefully us, right?" So that's how that works. So for you guys, if you are in the employment world or in the business running world, the main thing to take away from this would be you want to make something valuable, whether it's your skills or yourself, or you learn a software, you learn how to hit a hammer really well, hit with a hammer really well, you learn something. And then you go to somebody who you want to be working for and you say, "I will help you for free." And then you help them for free. And they're like, "Wow, this guy's pretty cool. I should hire him." So that's the long and short of that. The more value you can create for other people, the more things are going to come back your way. And that's just like the simple rule of life. So that is something that's going on there. There were some personal decisions I made, which you guys probably don't care too much about because it's me, not you. You care about you, and I care about me. But basically, I was dabbling in action sports of different kinds, and I had decided to settle on downhill mountain biking because the culture is the best of all the action sports. You'll get people who are the rowdiest, people who are the most risk tolerant, people who can endure crappy conditions, people who can get hurt and get right back up. You're going to find people who are very family oriented, like there's tons of kids in the sport always, all the time, all over the place. Um, and it's very welcoming. Like if there's some new person on the mountain, like and they happen to be like slowing you down or they get in front of you or something, it's like it's never like, "Oh, get out of my way, like you suck." It's like, "Oh no, like get go cheer them on, get off the brakes, you can do it, you can do it." And so it's just like the best. It's just the best. Period. End of story. Um, so those are the people that I want to associate with. Those are the people that I want surrounding me when I'm putting effort into a sport. Um, so that's why I decided to choose that. So if you guys are looking for a really cool sport to get into that is going to be welcoming, there's a little bit of a barrier to entry in finding a bike, but if you can get into it, then you should get into it. Along with that, a lesson in here is the less things you do, the better you will be at each thing. Most people try a new thing because it's exciting. They get reasonably good at it, and then they start to lose the dopamine reward of like, "Oh, this is not a new thing anymore. Now this is getting hard, or I'm hurting myself, or whatever it may be." Um, and if you want to be the kind of person to learn 10% of 1,000 different skills in life, then if that's what makes you happy, like just do that, obviously. But I have personally found a higher reward in excellence than in being mediocre at a bunch of different things. And I did a lot of different things in high school. Like there was unicycling involved, and anyway, all sorts of stuff. But that is the lesson: is you should find things that you really like, cultures that you like, people that you like, and build a world around that, because you will be. I promise you, if you get really, really good at something, you will be rewarded. And you'll also be punished because people who see other people who are excellent oftentimes get jealous, and that comes with its own set of problems. But doesn't matter. We don't care about those people. So that is the lesson there. So yeah, what is 2026 for us? We're gonna fix some discipline problems. We got some cool stuff coming. My life basically is going to be, in terms of professionalism and getting goals accomplished, is going to be um, based on building this business slowly and carefully, not moving too fast. One of the lessons in here that I just learned recently was there's a certain speed your business can grow at, and you can outwork most people, but at the same time, there is actually just a period of time everything takes. And something Hormozy likes to say often is like the grind is often way longer than you expected it to be to get where you wanted to be. I could say I would love for my business to be doing $1 million in 2026. That'd be cool. But like, um, there is kind of a like there's just a cap and an amount of work it takes to get to that point. And there's a lesson in that. This is something that applies to lots of CEOs and business owners and stuff like that. Is oftentimes you can kill your own business by trying to change too much too fast and work on stuff too fast. Um, and so the lesson I took away from that was I actually need to not, and you probably also need to not. If there's something that just needs some organic time to develop for yourself, then you should focus on making that thing happen organically. Just put in the work, put in the work, put in the work, put in the work, wait, put in the work, and just keep going. Um, so that's likely going to be a good idea. And oftentimes, if you need something to distract yourself, then get something good that distracts you from that. For me, it's going to be downhill mountain biking. Um, I am going to very much try to not distract myself, but like if when I'm not focusing on this business thing over here, then I want to be pointed over here working on this thing. And I've learned that I need to be able to turn off the business thing because, like, as an example, when I'm crossing the country, I have 36 hours of driving time to be listening to audiobooks, YouTube, podcasts, business, sales, all kinds of stuff I could be consuming that's going to want to motivate me to like go grind and get stuff done. But I have to be aware that whatever I consume is going to want to make me take action in a certain direction. And sometimes it just means that you should stop consuming it to focus on something else. Because you just need to do the work and let the work happen. So there's a balance there, and everybody's got to find their own balance. But that's pretty much it for me. So that's what I got to fix. Let's see. Yeah, life lesson here. Let's wrap it up kind of with this. You should actively try to figure out what the next thing is that you're going to massively mess up. Because if you can predict it and keep it from happening, that's better than letting it happen. Human beings have this super cool skill of being able to plan out the future in their head and foresee a possible bad reality and then act otherwise to avoid that reality. So for myself, I'm in a new place with my business. I have new problems to solve that I've never had to solve before. And so I ought to judge and constantly look around me at what is everybody else doing that's working? What's everybody else doing that's not working? How is that being perceived? And how can I take action differently such that I can decrease my chances of messing that up? And sometimes that means you have to learn new habits or you have to learn new behaviors and skills and things that are like actually internally wrong with yourself. So that is the takeaway there. So yeah, we'll wrap it up with that. So what's coming up 2026? We got some exciting stuff going on. I'm currently in the Northwest Washington, and we'll be taking a roll back down to Texas. I'm thinking there's some cool social media stuff I can do along the way down. Hopefully, bring some more interesting stuff to you guys. Follow me on Instagram, sam.d.stevenson, if you want to see some of the things I'm going to come across as I go down the country. If you want to learn, I always argue that everybody should learn, whether from me or somebody else, about houses and about construction in general, because everybody is going to live in a house and already does live in a house. You may not be Joe Build It and DIY dude, but understanding what you're dealing with, understanding how to talk to people who do deal with it will be a skill that you want. So give me a follow and like and all the cool stuff, and just keep up with things so you can be an educated person who knows how to solve important problems. So um, that said, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but keep an eye out because there's some pretty cool tech and stuff coming our way to Rapid Designs here that we're going to show you that hopefully everybody can benefit from. So thank you for watching, and I will be seeing everybody on the next one.